A new report claims global carbon dioxide levels will rise this year and that the rebound will be higher than pre-pandemic levels, when harmful emissions dropped by nearly 5.5% as much of the world locked down. While our science correspondent Jeremy Wilkes joins me now, and he's been looking into the findings. Jeremy, given the excitement that many people felt being allowed out again, are these figures really that surprising?
There's been an awful lot of criticism, actually, that the spending by governments on those post-pandemic recovery funds went into energy systems that were kind of old school, basically. They were kicking out carbon emissions into the atmosphere. They're not investing enough into this energy transition, or at least for the moment, we're not necessarily seeing the dividends from the investment. So this is a report from the Global Carbon Project today that CO2 emissions from fossil fuels expected to grow by 4.9% in 2021. So that's basically nearly offsetting the 5.4% decline that we had last year because of the pandemic. Coal and gas have both rebounded. Oil is relatively flat, and that's possibly because the transport sector has not picked up. One of the things that's happened today at COP is we've had an announcement that 40 countries are saying that they are going to kick the coal habit by 2030s or the 2040s, depending on their level of development, but there are commitments to do so. So we have countries such as Canada, Poland, Ukraine and Vietnam. Ukraine, for example, is saying it's going to get rid of coal by 2035. A third of their energy actually came from coal last year, so it's going to be interesting to see how they actually managed to achieve that. So, you know, we have financial institutions, we have countries all saying that they're going to try and get rid of coal, but if we're going to decarbonise the whole sector, you know, coal is the first one, but we also need to move away from oil and gas, and commitments to cut back on those, or to say no more oil or no more gas, those aren't there at the moment.
Indeed. Well, as those COP26 delegates today discuss so much of how we're going to do this transition, which countries in Europe are leading the race for renewables?
If you look at the countries which are leading worldwide, they're pretty much all European countries, and I guess it's going to be a list that you would imagine. It's Sweden, it's Norway, Denmark, Switzerland, Austria, Finland, the UK, New Zealand, France and Iceland. That's the top 10 in terms of the energy transition. It is happening. I mean, the investment in terms of energy transition has doubled in the last decade, up to $500 billion in 2020. We can see that electric car and plug-in hybrid sales have accelerated enormously. We're now at 10 million units in 2020. So the transition is happening. But when I think that a lot of people tend to focus on transport, and they tend to think about you know, what they can do in terms of, you know, electricity generation, etc. But there are some sectors that are going to be just so hard to decarbonise. Things like cement production. It's practically impossible to make cement without emitting CO2. How are they going to do it? Same thing goes for you know, metals. When they're making iron and steel, the same things. It's really difficult for those industries. The main thing everybody has to focus on, actually, in all of this is what can we do to boost efficiency? Because if we can reduce the demand for energy across all kinds of sectors, then we can start to make steps properly towards this green energy transition and actually allowing renewables to take up the slack and actually feed into that system and get to where we want to go by 2050.
Efficiency and cost effectiveness, if only it was that easy as saying it. Jeremy Wilkes, thanks for giving us that.